Never drop the right shoulder down to shallow the golf club and swing more on the inside, because if you're doing that right now, you're most likely struggling with fat shots, thin shots, and shots you're hitting way out to the right there. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how to shallow the golf club in a more functional way and swing a little bit more on the inside to where you can be hitting better golf shots more consistently. So I'm Jonathan Chan with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. So dropping that trail shoulder down in a downswing, we know, okay, that will get the club shallow and it will get the club to swing a little bit more on the inside going through the golf ball. But like we said in that intro, it can cause a lot of bad shots. So let's explain it a little bit here. So from this front on angle here, if I start my downswing, dropping that trail shoulder down, what's going to happen to my upper body? You're going to see how my upper body is now going to start to fall behind the golf ball. So if my upper body falls behind the golf ball, my low point, so the lowest point I'm swinging on my swing arc, is getting behind the golf ball, or it will be level with the golf ball. So both of those will result in a lot of inconsistent strikes. So fat shots if our low point gets too far behind. Thin shots are extremely common. So it's definitely not going to be making shallowing the golf club and swing on the inside work for us if we're doing it via that method. But that's not the only bad thing that does. The other bad thing for dropping down that trail shoulder early, the right shoulder, will be the club face will gradually get more and more open as we start to come into the golf ball, depending on the severity of us dropping that trail shoulder. So if I really drop that down, and that's my shallowing method, the club face most often is going to be extremely open. So a lot of golfers will be stalling out their body rotation, which that will also happen again if you drop that trail shoulder down too early. You won't be able to turn your body. So club face coming down, no turn of the body, means we have to flip release going through the golf ball to be able to hit the ball to our target, and that's if we haven't even fatted it or thinned the shot. So massively inconsistent of a move to do. We need to be able to do this, get that club shallowing and get it swinging a little bit more on the inside if that's what you want to do, and make it actually work for us, because this isn't a way for it to work us. This will shallow the golf club, dropping the trail shoulder down like we said, and swing on the inside, but we won't get anything out of it. We want those good moves to get something out of it, and we can get a lot of very good things out of it if we do it properly. So guys, a little break in the video here to talk about online lessons on SKILLEST. So for a lot of us at the Northern Hemisphere at the moment, winter is here. So winter is the best time to work on your golf swing. So I have online lessons available. So if you want a lesson, one-to-one lesson online with myself here, you can absolutely do that on SKILLEST. So we have different options to do. You can have a single lesson, 2-lesson package, or you can also have a monthly subscription where you get unlimited lessons and unlimited contact with myself to really make the most improvement at your golf swing. And we see some extremely good improvement of players in their golf swing. Whether you've been keeping up with my Instagram account, you've seen a lot of the before and afters of my students, or even from a few videos here on YouTube, you can make some really good changes with online lessons. So if you want to work with me over that time, get your golf game to the best it can be for 2022 season, let's go in there and let's do it. So how do we shallow the golf club and swing on a little bit more of an inside path naturally? Two things. We need more hand depth at the top of the backswing, so we'll explain that. And two, we need better sequencing in the downswing as well. So the more hand depth is going to get you to where you're going to be swinging a little bit better of a path, a little bit more inside if that's what you want to do. And two, that sequencing is going to again help you to swing the club on a better path, but it also help the club shallow as well. So let's explain the hand depth, because this is really, really important. And this is really a reason when golfers don't do this, is the reason why they have to drop the trail shoulder down. So extremely important to fix this problem. So hand depth at the top of the backswing we're talking about here. So the more depth we have to something means the more behind our body it is. So the more hand depth we have at the top of the backswing means more behind us. So I don't want you back here where you're extremely deep with those hands. So what most people would call kind of like a flat swing. I don't want to see that. I want to see an adequate amount of hand depth here. So what an adequate amount of hand depth is here is where if I drew a red line down from here, it's either going to be over my ankles or my heels, or maybe just a little bit behind my heels here. So The more depth I have back behind me, the more that's going to influence my club to fall a little bit more on the inside and the downswing here. So when we rotate in the golf swing, the hands follow us. They follow where we're going. So if we're rotating in the downswing, our hands follow where we're rotating. So you can imagine if you've got a little bit more hand depth, your hands are now following your sequencing and your turn in the downswing. If your hands have enough depth, they're not going to get too far out in front of you, which means, of course, as well, the club won't either. So you're going to be swinging on a little bit better of a path. So what do golfers do wrong here? They get up to the top of the swing, not enough depth for those hands. We know hands will follow your rotation. So if you don't drop that trail shoulder down with this lack of depth here, where the hands are just straight over my body, club's just going to be thrown over the top. So a lot of golfers try to cure this over the top move by dropping the trail shoulder down. You can see it does the job, but like we said, we're going to have all those mishits, those right shots. We're not going to be playing better golf for it. So what we need to do to be able to get this depth, like we said, that just means hands more behind us, but we don't just want to drag the club around the body. We don't want to do that. We want to do it, again, naturally. So like we said, hands follow your rotation. So like we said in the downswing, they follow you and they go more out. But the backswing, they do the same thing, just the other way, because they're following my rotation. I'm rotating back and around. What are the hands going to do then? They're going to move more back and around if I get a good turn. That's why I do not like golfers who try to resist their lower body turn in the backswing. I really don't like it, because you will see golfers straight away, if they're resisting their lower body turn in the backswing, woo, the hands are going dead straight up, then they'll have to drop the trail shoulder down to be able to get it back on path. So I like to see golfers get a nice hip turn in that backswing, free up that hip turn. The better you can rotate your hips, the more your upper body will rotate. So if you're not that flexible, make sure you lift up that left heel a little bit. When you get up to the top of your swing there, that'll give you more hip turn. You could also flare out the back foot as well. That'll give you a little bit more turn of your hips. That'll give you more overall body rotation. That'll get your hands in a better spot at the top. You'll get more depth. Now we've got the inside portion naturally, because the hands aren't shooting so far out in front of me. So sequencing in the downswing now. So let's say we've got that good depth at the top of the backswing. Got our hands into a good spot. Now, as we're turning down the downswing, what we want to happen, lower body, mid-torso, wants to rotate first. That's what we want to rotate. We want to separate this in transition, and we want our upper body and arms to be nice and passive, staying where they are at the top of the backswing. See how that club will now naturally shallow out for us. But we need that hand depth to do that. So you have to have the good hand depth, because if you don't do that and you still have good sequencing, you have like high hand position here, yeah, you might shallow it, but that club's going to go so far out in front of you, you won't swing on the inside if you want to swing on the inside. So you need those hands to be deep, and you need to get the lower body and mid-torso turning first. That will get that club to shallow out if you're really keeping those hands and arms nicely up the top of the backswing, and that will keep the club moving on path. Because if our upper body rotates too hard, we don't get that sequencing. We do it a little bit wrong, like over top guys do, where the upper body will rotate first. The hands are going to fly again out in front of us. We could be in a scenario where we have good depth for the top and we get the sequencing completely wrong and have the upper body rotate first. Hands will still go out in front of us. That's why we need both of these. We need that depth and we need that good sequencing, lower body and mid-torso working first, leaving the hands and arms up, which will shallow the golf club. Okay, cool. Let's see a drill now to be able to do it. And I'm going to give you two drills. So I'm going to give you a drill that's going to work on a little bit more of sequencing. And I'm going to actually give you a drill that stops your trail shoulder dropping down, but we have to feel like we're turning our body up to the top of the backswing when we do this drill, so we get the depth, of course. So we do it nicely and functionally how we want to. So let's talk about the sequencing drill. Now, if you've watched a lot of my videos, you've 100% seen this drill, because whenever I make a video about sequencing of any sorts, I talk about this. So this is where I have these resistance bands attached to the upright of my net here. And that's where I get into a makeshift top of the backswing. So why I say it's a makeshift top of the backswing, because I'm not fully rotated up here, because I generally can't get fully rotated with this upright. But what I can train here, I can train the lower body and mid-torso to separate. You can train it to separate very nicely. Because I'm gripping onto a resistance band here, I can't move my upper body too much. So forces me to now separate lower body and mid torso here. If you want to work on getting a good downswing sequencing and starting it off with a good transition, good separation, there is no better way to work on it than right this here. None at all. It's not even with a golf ball. And this is the best way to work on it to get into your golf swing. Just without a ball, grip onto a resistance band, separate that lower body and mid torso, really turn it. That is your separation drill. So completely without a golf ball, which is great because the next drill is with a golf ball. So what we do here, we have an alignment stick. What we do with this alignment stick, we put it underneath our trail armpit, just like this. So what we do here, first things first, we need to get up to the top of the backswing with good turn, because like we said, good turn gives you the good depth that we want. So let's get that good turn up to the top. Good. We're going to notice we'll have a little bit shorter of a backswing doing this drill, because this stick here, because you can see how I've got a lot of it coming out the front here, will stop my left arm from traveling too high. So that's the only thing with this drill. You'll swing a little bit shorter, but it will train the movement we want. So good full turn up to top. And now downswing portion is where this drill is really good. We want to, as we're turning down in good sequencing in a downswing, keep our left arm attached and touching this stick here. Because when that happens, I'm not dropping down the trail shoulder. Because watch what happens here when I drop the trail shoulder. See how now my left arm detaches from the stick straight away. That will always happen if I drop my trail shoulder down, because when the trail shoulder drops, the hands drop too vertically down. If the hands are dropping too vertically down, it will detach from the stick there. So if we get that good full turn up to the top with that good depth, sequence nicely, keep the left arm attached to this, we're going to be traveling down on good path, and we're going to be shallowing that golf club, and our left arm's going to be attached to that stick. Now as we side bend through the golf ball, the left arm will naturally come away from this stick here. So don't worry about keeping it there all the way through. So let's hit one here. So let's hit one doing it good. So nice full turn up to the top. A little bit of a shorter swing, because like we said, this will give you a little bit of a shorter swing doing the drill. You won't naturally start swinging it shorter when you take it away. But let's do a bad one as well, so we can see a little bit of the difference here. So we can see that trail shoulder dropping in action. So let's see what happens with this drill. So you can see, one, I fatted it straight away. And two, you could see from that, it just dropped down and the left arm didn't stay attached to this stick here. So getting in a lot of reps there, getting that good turn, lots of sequencing drills there, really do a lot of those. You'll feel some sore sides, but that will get a little bit easier as it goes on. And just a lot of reps here, keeping the left arm attached to this stick and the way down. Then once you get those, and also, once you just generally get the concept of it, you'll start to have a lot easier of a time to functionally do this properly. Now, there is more to shallowing the golf club. There absolutely is. I'll put a card up here for a more in-depth video on just about shallowing and swinging them more on the inside. There is a little bit more to it than that. But this is how to do it a little bit more functionally, so you're not really opening the door for all these bad mishits and wayward shots here. So this is how you would see a lot more top players work on it. And a lot more players really do it to a good standard, but it'll really improve your game massively. So if you enjoyed this video, of course, click that like button. If you want more golf instruction just like this, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video. So let's start shallowing that club properly, and don't drop that trail side down.